and golf are coming to Draftstars. And look, we'll get into it a little bit later on. We've got some exciting news, so do stick around. So, Hef, let's get the AFL underway for this round, and we'll start with Thursday night. Now, Thursday night, we've got Adelaide versus Geelong in Adelaide. Very tight matchup, this one. We did have Adelaide favouring by 1.5, but that just got flipped up later today. Now, Geelong are 1.5 favourites. Total points is 167.5. Weather's great in Adelaide. I think it's a nice 30-degree day there tomorrow, so no issues with the weather. Just to set it up for you, Hef, Adelaide actually are third ranked in the lead for fantasy points scored, and Geelong are actually fourth. They did a nice beat up in Melbourne last week. So Draftstars have posted a nice big $50,000 contest, which is lovely to see again. And also Moneyball will also come to the party with a $10,000 contest. In terms of team news, just a couple of changes for the teams this week. Sauce Jacobs is out with a dicky knee. So young Riley O'Brien comes on the side. And old Lockie Henderson comes in for old Jack Hunter. He's pulled a hammy. So the article is nearly up on the website. It'll be up here later tonight. Jesse's preview will be up very soon, so he'll be able to check out his cheat sheet, his resources, where to attack the game. So I'm going to leave this in your hands here, Hef, tonight on the show. As always, I love to start with the rucks, so take it away, rucks. Where the rucks are going tonight, Hef?
The rucks, well, when I heard Sauce Jacobs was out, I think yesterday they announced he wasn't going to be playing. I thought, well, how easy is this going to be? We're going to get Riley O'Brien. He'll be nice and cheap. We'll plug him in. We won't have to worry. And then next thing you know, Draftstars put him at 9,500, and now we've got a decision to make. At that price, he's only a couple of thousand cheaper than Reece Stanley, most overrated tough guy in the league. We talked him up last week, and he was just putrid.
Tough boy, Reece Stanley.
Now, when I think of Reece Stanley playing in Adelaide, I think of this game a few years ago against Port Adelaide when they threw him in the ruck for the first time and he went absolutely bananas and he had 90-something in the third quarter and then he just ripped his leg to shreds or something and got carried off. I think I'd prefer to be with Reece Stanley with only the $2,000 difference on Draftstars. Riley O'Brien's apparently he's got a bit of ability and he scores all right in the sandful, and they've been talking about him for a couple of years as being the guy to take over from Sauce Jacobs. But do you really want to be spending 9.5 on a bloke at your first look at him? So I'll be leaning towards Reece Stanley in my rucks.
Yeah, I think he's a safe play, Reece Stanley, tomorrow. I think you take his 70+, 80+, and just move on. And you don't really want to be sweating on a Riley O'Brien 40 or 50 tomorrow. So I think, I agree with you there. Take the Reece Stanley and just move on. Let's move on. Let's talk about before I actually get on, I want to talk about your takes from last week. Two takes last week. Your first take was that the rucks were Gonski, that the ball wasn't coming to him anymore from kick-ins and there was less hit-outs. Can you tell the old viewers here that take is now cold, gone?
Yeah, I've run the tape back on that, Smatho, and that was you just gagging for a hot take to get us started for the year. And I did say, don't go totally off on this ruck theory. It's just a theory at this stage. And I think the weekend pretty much put it to bed, didn't it? The rucks were way better. I will say I may have got a little bit carried away with Max Gawn. I basically had him retired, I think, last week. But in my defence, they came out and said he was in the hospital for God knows what on the lead up to the match. He came out, he got 113 and made Reece Stanley just look pathetic, even though they got flogged. So let's just say, though, that Melbourne got flattened by the karma bus for not telling us about that information and making me look stupid, because they got absolutely spanked by the Cats. But as far as that ruck call goes, let's not worry about that anymore, shall we?
All right, rucks are rucks, and they're always going to be a part of the game.
So while we're on gross overreactions,
what?
Last week we may have said it might have been the death of the tagger. Let's cross that off the list as well.
Yes.
Last week, 8 taggers, Matthew. So either they all saw Hutchings do a good job, or round one was just friendly round, and now they're really back in action. That turned quicker than the Bombers fans have turned on Woosha, didn't it? The taggers are back, and we've got to be scared of them now. Fear the tagger.
Well, I made the stupid mistake of playing old Stephen Cornelio And yeah, he got tagged up by Hutchins. And you did say on the show last week he's going to catch. We got the Hutchins party, and then I still played him. There was a lovely 17K left on the table. I was like, oh, you're beautiful.
As long as you learn your lesson, Matho.
I have learned my lesson, and I'm going to check every resource now to see if there's
so where's Hutchins going this week?
Oh, who are they playing? You have
The
to remind me. Oh, the Pies. Oh, God. Chook raffle.
No, Steele side bottom. He might not even see. Okay. So just just beware of Steele side bottom this week because Hutchins is going to crush him. All right.
Fair enough. All right, let's get back to this matchup. Adelaide, Geelong. Before we go, like any tagging going on in this particular matchup?
I don't think there will be. They tend to go a bit head.
I don't think there will be.
They love putting Sloan on Dangerfield, don't they? And just let them try and kill each other, which is always awesome to see. And Sloan usually comes off best when they clash heads. But that's going to be exciting.
All right. Find me a start in this matchup where I could be safe to say that is going to be the best scoring.
Okay, start. Well, Sloan will probably bash him, but that really gets Dangerfield up. So let's have a look at these numbers, Smatho. 129, 118, 131, 112, 121, 158. That's Dangerfield's last 6 games against Adelaide, his former team.
Okay. Jeez,
128 a game. That's massive. So he's 16,000, but he's back in the guts. He's going to be fighting with Sloan. He's going to just want to be bashing up everyone because he used to play for him and they made a grand final and he didn't. So he's going to get himself up for it. He treats it like his grand final danger because he's not getting in a grand final anytime soon. He's never played in one, so he may as well get himself up for this one. So 16K, I reckon that's all right. Get Dangerfield in your lineups.
Load him up. Excellent. I like it. Like a big start. Danger. Okay, so since I've got me start, I need some funds of value. Anything there particular taking your fancy value-wise?
Well, I had a look at the cheap guys, and no one really grabbed my attention. But I did notice Tom Stewart. He's up to 11,000 on Draftstars, which doesn't seem like great value at first thought for Tom Stewart. But he's averaging 109 this year, 2 tons to start the year. And the Crows give up the 3rd most points in the competition to defenders. So he's got a great matchup. He turned up the last game of the year as well, Stewart. So, wow, 11,000 is probably a bit of value for him.
Yeah.
So put him
yeah. Love his price. Like he hasn't gone up to that 12, 13 where you think a defender, you really need a good scorer. And whereas 11, you can plug him in, get a little bit of value around your other defender or a cheap forward, and Bob's your uncle, You've got a nice potential safe kind of player getting us a nice chip around the back there. Okay, so chalk. Any good chalk and what kind of chalk that we can get away with?
I think people will focus on the mids a lot, but Tex Walker was quite highly owned last week. I think it's about 33% because he's in there at about 8,000.
Yeah.
He had a good game against the Swans. But do you remember what happened last year when they played Geelong, Matho?
Yeah, I think he went a little bit feral, didn't he?
He did. He cleaned up Zach Tui. He just had an absolute stinker of a night. I think he got 47 or something like that. So even though he's low priced, and if you're playing some Crow stacks or he's always good to throw in with Tom Lynch in your forwards if you want to take that angle. But just in general, I'd be probably trying to steer away from Tex Walker because you know he can throw in that shocker. So even at 8K, he can come in under. So that might give you a little edge.
Yep. Now I'm just going to throw a little Smatho sneaky pick. Josh Jenkins is my little sneaky pick tomorrow. Second ruck, probably roaming around centre half forward. Lockie Henderson a little bit underdone. I don't have to say any more.
Right.
Yeah, with the article. Thanks, Hef. Thanks for that approval. Yeah. As always, the articles will go up with our Dragons picks. Now, make sure you do check them out. The article is not quite up yet, so Hef, any sneaky plays that you're quietly confident on?
Sorry, what was that?
I like a little sneaky bet tomorrow. Out with the Dragon.
Oh no. So we don't have many player props up at the moment. I think they tend to wait for the teams to be named. So, yeah, look for the Dragon. The Dragon will be all over that when they go up later tonight.
Excellent. All right, well, let's move on to Friday night. It's the elimination final in April. The 0-2 teams, Melbourne versus Essendon. Demons are 16.5-point favourites at the moment with a total of 170.5. The loser will go 0-3. Draftstars have posted a $40,000 contest. Moneyball have posted a $9,000 content. If you refer to our resources on the DFR website, you'll see that both Melbourne, who is second in the league for points, fantasy points against, and 70 for points for, are taken on Essendon, who are actually 16th for points scored. So these are actually two pretty crappy fantasy scoring teams through 2 rounds of the season. Hef, your initial thoughts on this particular matchup?
Well, we didn't really see this coming, did we? Start of the year, everyone was talking about, well, Melbourne have to turn up and they just about win the flag, and everyone was like kinging, and everyone else is spruiking Essendon for about the 3rd year in a row. And I reckon they all read the papers, Smatho. I thought they just have a matter of turning up, and they've just both been totally embarrassed the first couple of weeks. So I reckon Melbourne have got more talent than Essendon, but Melbourne have done this before too. I don't know. I'm just enjoying it. I'm just enjoying watching both teams crash and burn, and hopefully they can both just crash and burn together tomorrow night. Let's have a draw, so neither of them win.
Oh, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great? Now, we won't focus on the rucks because you're just going to pick Max Gawn and move on. Find me a stud in this particular matchup you're looking for.
I love Angus Brayshaw. I've talked to him about him on the show a couple of times already. Even last week, up to Corky down there at Geelong, and they got flogged, and he just churned out another ton. That's what he does. No one really looking to tag from the Bombers, so I think Angus will just be running around and picking up as many touches as he likes. Sneaky stud Zach Merritt, who's just under siege in the media at the moment. Everyone wants to show that clip of him where he couldn't be bothered tackling, but he had a virus. If you've ever had a proper virus, I definitely wouldn't want to been out there playing at Spotless Stadium in front of 20 people. And then last week he got tagged by Jack Steele, which isn't the hardest tag in the world because Steele likes to get his own ball. He still worked through it. He got 99 points. Melbourne, they might send harms to him, but everyone might be giving up on Zach Merritt, so maybe it's a good time for him to show what he's made of.
So if I'm going to squeeze in both Merritt and possibly Brayshaw, I need to find some value. Is there anyone they've taken your fancy here?
Yeah, you're going to need some cheap guys, aren't you, to get those two in. I like Bailey Fritsch. He's still quite a young player on the way through. Pretty happy with his game last week. He scored 88 down at the Cattery. He's still only 9,000. I'm going to have a fair bit of Bailey Fritsch, I'd imagine. There's a couple of real cheap guys like Tom Sparrow shows a bit of ability if he stays in the team. He's only 6K, which could help you play those expensive midfielders. But Fritchie would be my main one.
Cool. Yep. So obviously your midfield is going to be pretty much your chalk tomorrow with your gun midfielders. Any sneaky kind of plays from outside of the chalk?
Yeah. So Andrew McGrath, did you watch him get cleaned up last week, Matho?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Nice little hospital ball that was from Zach Merritt. He's only about 10,000 again, Andrew McGrath, and he's one bloke that sucks me in all the time. Those 10K guys, they're so easy to bob up and get a 90 or 100 and give you good value. But every time I play McGrath, he really stings me, and he gets called into the back line. He ends up getting 60 and just ruins me. But he always seems to be owned because everyone, number one pick, everyone knows who he is. He's in that price bracket where everyone likes to play. If I'm going to try and fade anyone from this game, maybe Andrew McGrath's a guy I'll take a risk on. Let's hope he's still seeing stars.
Yeah, very good, very good. All right, let's move on to Saturday. A little 4-game slate on Saturday. From a punting perspective, I was checking the odds earlier, and there's some really short kind of favourites in this particular one. The first game up is actually Sydney playing Carlton at Marvel, and the Swans are only a 2-goal favourite over Carlton. Does Carlton actually really have a chance over Sydney?
Well, they're only a 2-goal favourite because they suck, Sydney, don't they?
Do they?
They haven't really shown us a whole lot this year. Everyone's been waiting for them to come to the end for a few years. They'll probably come back and bite me again, Sydney, like they always tend to do. Heaney's got that dodgy ankle, which he picked up in the JLT, and they finally told us after he had a bad game last week. But rather than give him a week to get over it, they're going to try and see if he can play underdone for about 10 weeks. Carlton have covered the spread twice. They have a go. Paddy Dow, love Paddy Dow last week in Adelaide. They gave a good side in Adelaide. Might have been something to do with Port thinking how good they are, but they might be able to catch the Swans napping, Carlton. One thing I will note last year, Patrick Cripps, they went up to Sydney, he got tagged by George Hewitt, and he totally squashed him. So that's going to come up in all the numbers. Just beware, he was really... it looked like he carried a pretty bad leg injury that game, Cripps. And they had the bye the week after. They thought, well, we may as well just play him. So maybe don't be quite so scared of the Hewitt tag, because he's a bull, Cripps. Like, he's a hard man to tag, and if he's fighting fit. So, yeah, I'm not going to be quite so scared as I might usually would be of Hewitt in that situation. And Hewitt went to Laird last week, which was weird, because like, why wouldn't you tag Rory Sloane for the Crows?
Yeah, I know. Even one of the Crouch brothers, just
but
anyway,
that was a weird one.
Yeah,
but
it was a weird one.
I won't be watching that game anyway. It's going to be rough.
No,
you will be.
I will be, and having that 2-goal kind of line, it's just got me a little bit interested, and obviously the letdown will come quarter time. Now, the game that I'm kind of interested in is the Giants playing Richmond, and Giants are actually favourites over Richmond. Richmond were the Ducks nuts for 2 years, and all of a sudden they go up to Sydney and they're underdogs over the Giants. Last week they did get a little bit bashed up by the Eagles, so I'm actually going straight back to the Giants midfield for this particular matchup, because obviously we saw Richmond couldn't handle the 2,000-point score that Collingwood put up. Am I right in saying that we're targeting Giants players here?
Yeah, I think you're right. Go and have a look at the resources section, points against, and those numbers against Richmond backs, aren't they through the roof? Obviously, Collingwood, like Jordan Roughhead, got about 1 million points last week. They were all chipping it around the back line. You're scrolling down the list, and like you said, the bloke 4 from the bottom, he's got 90 points. It was just unheard of last week. Finally, it's all coming home to roost here for Richmond. They get a few injuries, which they haven't had a lot of in the last couple of years. Dusty's probably going to get cleaned up by Matt DeBoer. Someone's got to stand up for Richmond, and I don't know who it's going to be. So it could be a massacre for GWS.
Yeah, it's kind of, feasting on some carcasses in Sydney. It'd be nice to see. Next game up will be the Lions, who are a goal favourite. Goal favourites over Port Adelaide. Brisbane 2-0 and a goal favourite. So the Lions are actually the number 1 team for least points scored against, with only 3 fantasy tons scored after 2 rounds. Does this sound alarm bells for the fantasy pig in Rockcliffe going up to Brisbane?
Rockcliffe, I hope it does, because I haven't got him in my dream team, and I'm hoping he gets tagged or just a little soft tissue injury or something, just to get me back on a level pegging.
He's due. He's due for something. He's due for an injury.
So not only is there that matchup, Ollie Wines, they're talking Ollie Wines will be back this week. So there's a bloke who's just permanently moored in the guts. Like, he can't play anywhere else. So that takes a lot of on-ball time. They've obviously put Rockcliffe and Boak in there a fair bit to start the year, but Wines is going to take a lot of that time. The other two will probably still spend a fair bit of time in there. Did you watch Brisbane North last week, Matho?
On and off. I saw Aaron Hull going schizo in the first couple of quarters, and then obviously the old app and the champion data went to kaput, so we were kind of left hanging for a good hour and a half. And then when it came back online, Aaron Hall on 90, I'm thinking, okay, still waiting to refresh, and they're like, oh shit, that's his score. So what happened there?
So Mitch Robinson sharpened his talons last week just for this match, I reckon. Second half, they sent him to Aaron Hall, and you know how Aaron Hall goes when someone goes and stands next to him.
Oh, yeah.
Do you reckon Brisbane's going to let Rocky run free after he left them? Robbo's probably he's got no saddle to his game, Mitch Robinson. He's just going to go and bash him. Zorko let me down last week in DFS, but he seems happy to do what the coach tells him this year, Zorko. Maybe they send Zorko to run with Rockcliffe. No doubt there's a bit of rivalry between them. That could be a bit of Sloane Dangerfield, but I think one thing's for certain, they won't be letting Rockcliffe get any cheap ball, and I'll be fading Rockcliffe this week on that basis.
Yep. I'm not drafting him as super coach or your AFL fantasy, and I won't be deploying him in DFS. It's just something's not quite right with that that scenario this week. Now, the last game on the Saturday night slate is the grand final, a rematch, Collingwood versus West Coast. Draftstars have actually put up a nice little 10K single slate contest as well. So if you're going pretty well on the 15 during the day, you might want to sneak in a few more entries, or if you just cooked her after the first game, just slide on in. So
get back in the game.
After last week's massacre at Richmond, are we looking at more pie stacks again, or does West Coast, who only allowed 2 fantasy tons all year, limit the Pies' fantasy production?
Yeah, I hate playing players against the Eagles. Last year, Keith Ford's got hold of them a little bit, but I think that's more to do with their game plan down back, that they don't mind letting them lead up and mark the ball. But it's very hard to score against the Eagles, and half of that is that Eagles play the same way that the Pies played against Richmond. They like to chip the ball around, they take the air out of the game, they don't let you get the ball. So all these Collingwood blokes, they're all priced up because they all got 1 million points last week against the Tigers. So there's no real bargains to be had. And now it sounds like they're going to put Taylor Adams back into that team as well. So there's another pig trying to find a spot at the trough. When you put all that together, like West Coast beat them last year, let's not forget. They beat them twice. No, they beat them 3 times. They beat them twice at the MCG. I don't think it's just a fait accompli that everyone's sort of talking this week for Collingwood. And from a DFS perspective, we've got other games that we can attack, and I'd much prefer to get involved in the other games and try and get Collingwood to repeat their effort from last week.
Ooh, a little warm take there from your Hef. He's just, don't worry about Collingwood, the hottest fantasy scoring team in the land. He's just going, don't worry about them this week. No. Don't worry about them. All right, well, let's move on to Sunday. And you did touch on the old Pearce Hanley. He's the 3rd week in a row we're talking about Pearce Hanley on our Sunday slate. How much is it again? And am I picking him again?
Well, I was going to come in and say, Pearce off, but I thought about it a bit. Pearce off, Gibbs on, that sort of thing. No, I was going to take him on, but then he's still 8,200. Like, my thoughts haven't really changed. He was a little bit better last week. I was desperate for him to get some cheap touches in those last few minutes. And they were looking at him, and then they'd go to kick it, and then they'd turn around and chip it back to someone else. But I don't think much has changed. I'll still be playing a fair bit of Pearce Hanley, I reckon. Bulldogs, they don't allow many points to the backs this year, so that sort of slows me up a little bit. So maybe I won't be piling in as much as last week, but I'm still keen to have some Pearce Hanley. I'm not totally prepared to give up on him just yet.
Now, we already know that a couple of injuries have gone down in Horn with Shields and Burgoyne on the shelf for a couple of weeks. So that brings in the young talent through, and you might have already had a successful week last week for Cousins and Warple. It's all systems a go again for these two?
I think so. I made the call that Cousins was my man this year instead of Warple, and Warple just dominated that first game. And Cousins was doing nothing last week until Shields went off, and then Cousins was everywhere that second half, and he got up to whatever he did, 80, 90 points. So with Shields gone, I think they'd be quite happy for Cousins to resume that role. I don't know what's going on with Daniel Howe. Like, he seems the perfect type of guy to come in and replace Shields and play that sort of defensive role. So maybe he comes in, and maybe he might be a bit cheap. I haven't looked at his salary yet, but Cousins and Warple are going to be pretty obvious this week, aren't they?
Yeah, they're pretty obvious, but in a good way, I reckon. So make sure you do check out the dailyfantasyrankings.com.au website for all of our previews for all the slates that are coming up this weekend. Resources are now live on the site in terms of the cheat sheets, the taggers, the ruck analysis, the points of guess. So if you want to check out the data now, get onto the Daily Fantasy Rankings website and check that out.
And just be aware with those cheat sheets that they will be updated for teams. So probably overnight they'll be updated for tomorrow night's game, and the projections will be updated as well. So check back closer to the time and when final teams are announced, and those projections will be updated to take into consideration any changes.
Okay, so we've got a question from the audience tonight. Hef, what about old red nut angry boy James Sicily? What are we doing with him this week?
Well, I'll be playing Sicily again. He's angry. He's angry man, isn't he, Sicily? Yeah, he probably had every right to get stuck into that umpire in the last quarter last week because they were pretty soft free kicks. But he puts a target on his back, Sicily. DFS, that's not going to worry us. He might lose us 3 or 6 points here and there, but I like him against North Melbourne. I think he can just roam around at the G, and he can go big, Sicily, so he's always on the radar for me.
Yep. And I reckon he will have a lower projection after burning a few coaches last week. So, yeah, good call. I think Sicily, again, you've got to go again. You know, recency bias can really hurt a DFS player. And if you just look at the data alone, yes, that will lower his projection and his projected ownership. So, yeah, no issues there with Sicily. All right. Now, Hef, obviously it is autumn here in Australia. Springtime is just blooming in the United States. Do you know what an azalea smells like, Hef?
I don't even know what that is, Smatho, but you're about to tell me.
It's azaleas at Magnolia Lane, the Augusta National Golf Course in Atlanta, Georgia. Will be hosting the Masters next week. Huge DFS news came out today with Draftstars announcing that DFS golf will be available for the Masters next week. As the golf contributor here at DFF, I'm excited. I'm going red in the face just thinking about it now.
Join the club.
Join the club. We're both red in the face. We're both excited. I'm so excited to catch up with our good friend of the show, JK123. We're going to catch up on Monday to do an extensive podcast preview of the Masters from DraftKings and how exciting Draftstars perspective. Testing is going to go on over the weekend just to make sure that all the bells and whistles are going to be nice to go. And obviously next week we're going to have a beautiful new golf contest. I'm excited. So do make sure you check out. I'm going to be posting some punting previews, some slate previews, etc. So just make sure you keep an eye on our website, keep an eye on our Twitter feed, and yeah, I'm excited for that. Also really announced today.
So I can just butt in there.
It's going to be great.
They have those huge big fields. They're just they're big prize pools, but it's very hard to beat a massive field like that, especially for someone like me. The last golfer I had money on was Happy Gilmore. So I've pumped your podcast as I love the last podcast that you did with Jay. I didn't have a whole lot of understanding what was going on, but not only did I get some golf stuff out of it, I got some general DFS theory and strategy out of it. So that was magnificent. That's on the website if you want to go back and listen to it, because even though it was a preview for, what was it, the Players Championship?
Yep, the Players, yes.
Yeah, so even though that's probably that's been run and won, but there's plenty of stuff in there just to get you thinking about golf. And I'm looking forward to the Masters one, and I'm looking forward to play it on Draftstars, where maybe I've got more chance of getting a return rather than taking on all the sharks in America. So I'm not a big golf man, but I'm excited to play golf on Draftstars.
Look, golf is a great DFS product, especially for your casual user can just set a couple lineups and set and forget. Okay, but we'll go through the big preview next week, and 6 a.m. starts just to chuck on the TV and watch the lads go around the Augusta course. Now, also announced today, MLB, the Major League of Baseball in the United States of America, will also be available on Draftstars. In terms of the actual date, that's still to be announced. Draftstars haven't given us a firm date yet, but I am an absolute nuff when it comes to baseball. It's on the telly, and then I get bored pretty quick. But from a DFS perspective, it seems to be an interesting sport to play. Yeah,
it's a real numbers sport, MLB. It's just like with the golf. There's they've got MLB sorted in America, it seems. DraftKings. I did mention on the podcast a long time ago, I read a book called Dueling with Kings, and they had an American guy called Beep I'm a Jeep, and he was a freak at MLB, and he didn't know 5 players. It was all numbers, and it was all driven off his spreadsheets and whatever else. But we can play on Draftstars. It looks like it's going to come very soon. NBA is starting to wind down. There's not a whole lot going on during the week, so MLB is going to be there just for us to keep ticking over when we've got nothing to do at work. We want a bit of a sweat. I've had a peek at the scoring system. It looks like it's pretty close to DraftKings. So there's going to be plenty of information out there to learn how to play. And Draftstars is going to be an awesome place just to cut your teeth, I reckon. And maybe then you can learn the game and attack DraftKings as well later on. But yeah, I'm excited. We needed something when NBA shuts down for during the week, and MLB looks like it's going to slide straight into that hole.
Yeah, excellent. No, as I said, I might go on a bit of a journey here from an MLB and just learn the basics and put me little $2 minis in and see how I go. And you never know, I could be making a little tidy profit in no time. But yeah, exciting times here at Draftstars, and well done to them for putting these contests up. I will have to make mention to my little friends here at the NRL. We still got the NRL kicking along here on round 4. The Broncos are playing the Roosters on Thursday night. Draftstars have put up a $5,000 contest, and Moneyball have a $6,000 contest. So again, check out our articles on the website. Old Frenchie will be back with another preview. There'll be free projections as well that he'll be able to provide us as well. So that kicks off on Thursday night, and also various contests throughout the weekend, which usually drop one for the slates on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. Gents, ladies, I think we might wrap it up there. Big show tonight. Big game of footy coming up tomorrow night with the Crows and Geelong. Hef, is there any final thoughts you want to share with our lovely audience this evening?
No, I'm all shared out tonight, Matho. But a lot of exciting times in Aussie DFS coming up. So yeah, really, really looking forward to it all. Good luck on the weekend, Matho. I'll be getting your
Thank
2
you.
thumbs
I've
up.
had it. Yeah, you get my 2 thumbs up. Work hard at it, and folks, see you on the leaderboards. Catch you this time next week, next Wednesday night, for the latest edition of the DFS Down Under show. Take care.
Thanks, brother.